Hello everybody and welcome to another video. If you're like me and think the majority of popular games take too damn long to complete, well do I have a treat for you. 5 treats to be precise. I've put together a list of 5 games I've recently played that can be completed in just under 2 hours. So if you're feeling unable to invest a huge chunk of time into games like you used to, but you're still after a fun, meaningful and satisfying experience, well you've come to the right place. It was an absolute joy playing through these games and I hope you enjoy them too. So without further delay, let's get right into game number 1.
கருமா நம்ம சென்னை சிட்டி அது கடையாளம் தான் எங்க பட்டி தொட்டி இனுக்குது பாருடி செல்ல குட்டி செல்ல குட்டி.
Kicking off the list is a game called Vber, which is available on all current platforms. This game really caught me by surprise. On the surface, it is a cooking game, which includes everything you'd expect of a game of that genre, but it takes no time in showing the player that it's something more than a simple cooking game. There's a story here that will leave you eager to see it through to the end. You play as Vber, a woman who's moved to Canada from India with her husband. Throughout the game, you'll be tasked with cooking various meals by following your mother's recipe book. To add an element of challenge, the recipe book may be damaged in some way so certain words or steps aren't visible, meaning you have to use some common sense to figure it out. You'll be cutting up fish, making flour and frying doughs, which all culminate in very delicious looking meals. I absolutely love Indian food, so it was very enjoyable following the recipes and seeing the finished product, especially the biryani, which just looked delicious. I'll be honest with you though, this is by no means a difficult game. The puzzles are very easy to figure out and you'll be flying through each cooking session with ease. But in my opinion, the gameplay isn't why you should consider giving this game a go, it's the story. As mentioned previously, Vber and her husband are an Indian couple who's moved to Canada. The game takes place over a few decades and you witness their struggles as an immigrant couple in a world that's completely different to the one they know. You witness their financial struggles, their homesickness, and the mistreatment by the likes of their employer or fellow peers. There's one moment where it quickly shows the husband's employee name badge where his name is clearly misspelled. It's little details like this that really show the hardships faced by immigrants trying to start a new life somewhere else, and I found it to be very heartbreaking. When their newborn son joins the story, it was really interesting to witness the moral dilemma Vber and her husband faced during his upbringing. Do they abandon their own culture and watch him grow up in a different world, or do they force their own culture upon him despite the possible difficulties he'd face outside of the home, in school and in employment? But while this is all going on, the focus never shifts from food. While it's very fun to cook the meals, you're reminded that food is more than just food. Cooking meals is an opportunity for families to maintain their connections, and the smells it produces can remind you of treasured memories. I feel like I could talk about this game for much longer, but I'm trying to keep it small, so I'll wrap this up now. The story of Vber is full of ups and downs, but it's beautiful throughout and is something I think everyone should experience. And with it clocking in at around an hour to complete, you'll be treated to an emotional story without too much of your time being taken from you. Now let's proceed to game number 2. Up next is Go Mecha Ball, a twin-stick shooter roguelike that is absolute chaos from start to finish. Go Mecha Ball will have you controlling a mech, blasting your way through each level with combat that is fast-paced, snappy, and incredibly satisfying. If you pick up Go Mecha Ball hoping for a story, well you're not really gonna find one here. As with any roguelikes, the gameplay takes center stage and it gripped me in the first minute. Sometimes it's nice to just sit down with a game and let your hair down. There's no need to focus on a story, you can just kick back and have a good time. With it being a roguelike, once you die, you go back to the beginning and you start again. I don't typically play games of this genre, the repetitive nature of them usually puts me off, or they test my patience a little too much. But with Go Mecha Ball, I found myself not caring if I failed. It's just straight up fun testing the different weapons and rolling around the place. I think the fact that you play as a ball is what gripped me the most. You are the ball trapped inside a pinball machine and you'll be zipping around having the best of times. There is a decent amount of weapons available that you slowly unlock as you progress, and you can also experiment with the different abilities to find a playstyle that suits you. After each level, you're able to pick an upgrade or an ability, and at various points you're able to visit a shop to hopefully restock and refuel, but these items are always randomized to ensure no playthrough is the same. This goes for the levels as well. The order of them will always be different to avoid repetition. With each playthrough, you'll learn the language of the game and you'll become better and stronger than you were before. It's one of those experiences that's incredibly satisfying, and the game isn't too unforgiving either. I never became frustrated and I was always eager to jump straight back into the action. I was sitting on the edge of my seat whenever I was about to progress past the level I died on previously, and that feeling of reaching the end without requiring many hours of your time is unmatched. It took me about 2 hours to complete my first playthrough, but there's plenty of replay value here. It's one of those games you can just pick up and play in short bursts, and I especially recommend playing it on the Steam Deck if you have one. Anyway, if you're looking for a short, fun and exciting game, then pick up Go Mecha Ball. You won't be disappointed. On to the next one. So after the excitement of Go Mecha Ball, how about we slow things down a bit? The next game is Return to Grace, a first-person narrative adventure set within a beautiful sci-fi world. Similar to Vber, this game is all about the story, with very little challenge in the gameplay department. You play as Addy, a space archaeologist in search for Grace, an AI god made by mankind to bring peace to the solar system, who's been missing for 1,000 years. After crash landing on the planet Ganymede, you make your way through the spire and unravel the mysteries as you go. The game has everything you'd expect from a narrative-driven adventure. It has mystery, it has wonderment, and it does an excellent job at driving the player through to the end. You'll be able to listen to audio diaries of long-lost souls, or witness the remnants of a civilization through its visual storytelling. The environments beg exploration, which is something I recommend doing instead of beelining it straight to the finish line. It's a game that successfully holds its secrets and reveals them at the appropriate times. The only other characters in this game are different variations of the Grace AI that communicate with you through the device on your wrist. Each AI has its own distinct personality, and I thought the voice acting was excellent for all of them. I found these characters to be really interesting. Each one offers different advice, and in many cases you're able to choose which one to side with. In a way, the game feels like a huge personality test to find out what kind of person you are. Are you someone who will take the difficult route because you love a challenge even if the risk of hurting yourself is high? Or are you someone who prefers the easy route but struggles with the voice in your head telling you you're missing out by not facing a challenge? Return to Grace doesn't just offer an interesting story, but an opportunity to self-reflect as well. One thing that really stood out to me in this game is the different environments you walk through. Return to Grace offers truly stunning visuals, and there were many moments where I had to stop to take a look around and digest it all. The 60s retro sci-fi aesthetics are really beautiful, and it was a pleasure to take it all in. Gameplay-wise, there isn't that much to it. It's an incredibly easy game, with it throwing a few puzzles at you that don't take long to figure out. You'll mostly just be pressing A, which I get does sound very boring, but similar to Vber, the story is what drives you through. And with it being a short game of around 2 hours, you won't be feeling the frustration of investing a lot of your time for little to no payoff. Overall, Return to Grace offers a short but beautiful story that hits all the right spots without a huge time commitment. It's a game I recommend if you're in the mood for something simple and compelling. Moving on. This beautiful game. I am not lying when I say I had a smile on my face the entire time I was playing this. Cyanara Wild Hearts is nothing short of incredible. It's a beautiful blend of your old style action arcade games with a huge emphasis on music. You play as a broken-hearted woman fighting your way through various embodiments of tarot cards in insane and surreal dreamscapes that are visual masterpieces. It throws you straight into the action with no messing around. You'll be riding motorbikes, shooting wolves, riding a deer, sailing a boat, and flying through the sky. This game has it all. Even with the game carrying you through the levels automatically, I really enjoyed how each level changed up the formula. It borrows from your favorite classics, Space Invaders, Galaga, F-Zero, and at one point you'll be in Tetris avoiding all the blocks. It does a fantastic job at keeping things fresh. It never feels stale, and the time will pass you by without you knowing it. At the end of each level, I was really excited to find out what I would be doing next, and it does a fantastic job at carrying you through until its conclusion. To sum up the gameplay, you'll be dodging obstacles, shooting down enemies, and hitting quick time events. The combination of it all keeps your brain engaged, and it's so satisfying to play through. It's very fluid and intuitive. You'll know exactly what to do as soon as the game begins. And I haven't even talked about the music yet. The soundtrack is an integral part of this game. In fact, the game pretty much is the soundtrack. soundtrack. With it being a rhythm game, your actions add to the beat and you'll be pressing buttons in time with the music that makes you feel like you're part of the song. It's what I like to imagine goes on inside your phone or computer whenever you play some music. It really connects you to the glorious music that was handcrafted for this game. No word of a lie, I was bopping my head and stomping my feet to the rhythm of every song, and I loved every second of it. It took me just over an hour to complete, but I'm sure I'll be frequently going back and attempting to get the gold medals on each stage. There is a lot of replay value here. It's one of those games you can quickly pick up and play for short 15-minute bursts. This game has heart. In fact, it has many hearts that you collect, but it's a beautiful piece of art from start to finish, and it's one everybody should play. I'll stop talking now. All I'll say to end this section is play Cyanara Wild Hearts. You'll have a blast. Last but most definitely not least, we have Donut County. Now bear with me while I try to explain this game because you're probably not going to believe me. Have you ever felt the urge to play as a whole? None of this Master Chief Kratos or Mario nonsense. I'm talking about playing as a hole in the ground that swallows everything and gets bigger with each object you swallow until you start swallowing buildings and cars on a highway. Well, if you have felt this urge, which I'm sure every normal person has at least once in their life, well, I think Donut County might be for you. Donut County is an adventure puzzle game that's available on all current platforms, and to put it simply, it's hilarious. It's so stupid and insane that you just can't help but love it. It's set in Donut County, where all the residents and their homes have been sucked into a giant hole. As the game progresses, you find out how each resident met their doom, and it's always in the most funniest of ways. The game is split into different levels where you're tasked with swallowing up everything you see. It may sound simple, and for the most part it is, but it does add some challenge in the form of puzzles so more objects can be available to consume with your hole. This all sounds very wrong. For example, swallowing a bunch of rabbits results in them doing what rabbits do best, and when they multiply, it means your hole grows bigger. Or if you swallow a fire, you can engulf objects in flames so you can progress forward. I think you get the idea. It's not groundbreaking. Well, I guess it technically is, but it is a hell of a lot of fun, especially when you want to just mindlessly chill with some basic gameplay after a long day of concentration at work. But it's the writing in this game that really carries it. Each level begins with the residents talking to each other, and the dialogue always had me in stitches. Whoever wrote this is a comedic genius. Seriously, thank you for making me laugh so much. There are moments in this game where you can text another resident, and if you want to, you can just send them ducks. And sometimes they'll even send them back. It's this wacky humor that made me fall in love with it, even if it's just over an hour and a half long. I really recommend Donut County for those who aren't looking for something serious, and for those who want a proper laugh. Its short but sweet story will make you smile and remind you that games can be enjoyable rather than a chore. Well, there you have it. 5 amazing games you can complete in under 2 hours. Thank you so much for watching through to the end. It was a pleasure playing through these games and talking about them. Please let me know what you think of these games if you end up playing them, and if you recommend any smaller games, then drop a comment below. Oh, and subscribe if you want to. I'm nearly at 1,000 subs, and it would be really cool to hit that target. Thanks for watching, everyone, and I'll see you in the next one.